Turn my phone off and
Do you have a spirit copy there?
Okay, I should have it on my email.
Actually, no, I got copies on the both people, so there you go.
Thank you.
okay, well, let's call our meeting order. It is 7:06. This is committee of the whole meeting, number 10 of the 2021 year. And we're looking at our agenda. Do any of the councillors have additions or changes they'd like to make to the agenda before we start our meeting? All right, I do not see anybody with any hands up or suggestions. Deputy Mayor, you're good with the agenda?
I don't have it in front of me, I'm so sorry. But I did want to bring up an item since it's our last meeting. I don't know, do we have councillors' comments or concerns on that agenda?
It's not set up that way, but we could we just have reports and discussion matters, so we could put you down as like, after some budgeting, we can do your concern. Sure.
Okay,
And what would it be?
it's not really a concern, but does the SAO have a report? I'm so sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
I don't have a report for tonight's meeting.
Okay, well then maybe I might ask that we include an item I want to bring up, which is the donations that we have received for our flooding victims.
Okay, well, let's just put that as 7D, flood donations.
Okay,
And we could bring that up then.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So with that change, is everybody in favor of going ahead with the addition and the agenda? Okay, show of hands, yeah, all right. And Deputy Mayor, you're good with the agenda?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. Any declarations of interest in any of the items? And just so that the Deputy Mayor knows, the three items that would be of the main items we're talking about are just budget estimates for operation and maintenance, for water sewer, and the 5-year capital plan. There is one HR matter, which I don't know, maybe perhaps that could involve something that one of us or more might end up being in conflict. I don't know. No?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So does the SAO does not think so. So at this point, I don't think any of us are in conflict over budget items, and that seems to be the main item on the agenda tonight. All right, so councillor absences. Yeah, just to make note that Councillor McPherson was able to contact us and let us know she would not be able to attend this evening's meeting due to a conflict with another meeting that she had already previously set up and agreed to go to. Other than that, yeah. We'll move on to delegations, which we don't have any. Reports and discussion matters, and we've got the 2021 budget estimates, general operation and maintenance. And am I turning this over to our finance manager?
Sure.
Darrell White. Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Worship, Council. You have with you the operating estimates for 2022 in the uncolored package, and the capital plan is the colored package. So we'll work through both of these documents, and I'll highlight the bigger areas, and then we'll get through both, and then we'll open it for questions and any inputs and things that we may want to move forward into our second reading for our second draft. So this is draft one. We met with directors and reviewed more on the capital side, their projects for next year, and some discussion about projects going forward. So I'll give you a few assumptions that are in these numbers, particularly in the operating budgets. Our mill rates and utility rates have not increased. They are remaining at the 2021 levels. You will see different operational budgets have increased. We've factored in the wage and benefit increases that come into effect in 2022 per the collective agreement. Predominantly, that's roughly a 2% wage increase. So that's there. The overall operational budget expenditures have increased by approximately $140,000 over last year, budget to budget. And so you see we've gone from about a budget of $6,020,000 last year to $6,159,000. That's on page 1 of the uncolored document. There's a lot of up and downs in each of the departments, but some of the bigger increases are in protective services. We see about a $90,000 increase in protective services on the expenditure side, and this is reflective of the budgeting of the paid fire chief position with its salary and benefits. Also, we have an increase in recreation. Budget expenditures of about $150,000 over last year. We are focusing on a recreation programmer as part of our complement of staff for next year, which will broaden and give enhancements to the programs that we will be offering the community. So with that and with some other ones, that 150. Some departments have seen reductions. Most predominantly water sewer. Their expenditure estimates are down $47,000 over budget 2021. Been some staffing changes there. There's been some reallocation of wage costs of our operations manager. So his wage costs are spread more throughout the departmental budgets rather than just being strictly in the sewage treatment plant. And we've also reallocated higher percentages of our administrative and public works staffing over to water and sewer. So those have been done. On the positive, we have seen an increase in our operational budget revenues of approximately $200,000 over last year. And two of the bigger reasons for that, in protective services, we see an increase of about $40,000, and that is with the new rate structures developed through the ambulance fees, ambulance charges bylaw. And administration revenues are up about $115,000. Highest majority of that is $75,000 that we are estimating will be new tax revenue from the new office complexes that are nearing completion. So we've got an estimate there. We'll see what the actual assessment comes in the new year and factor that accordingly. So with all of these factors into our operations, overall, we have a budget surplus at this point of about $59,000. So that can be brought to zero through either a reduction in some revenues or budgeting some additional costs, but it's certainly okay to leave that surplus budgeted and have that as a little buffer as we move through the fiscal year next year. So that's the synopsis of the operational budgets, and now I'll jump into capital. And we have again sat with the directors and formulated some of these estimates over the next 5 years. So if you look at the colored document, the first page is a summary of the 5 years, and you will notice that the bulk of capital expenditures is very heavily weighted in 2022, with the other 4 years being not a lot of identified projects. What will happen as we move year to year to year, both staff and council will identify projects to move forward with, and this will impact those years going forward. But if all things remained equal and this was the status over the next 5 years, we would ultimately have in the kitty about $9.3 million. But we'll have projects that will utilize those funds and also to be able to lever additional federal programming funds as well. So things bode well going forward as far as capacity. If we flip over to the first page, the green page 18, these are the capital projects identified for next year. And I'll just run through them each. And as you see, there's not a lot of beyond.
Daryl is at page 17.
Page 18.
Yeah, on page 18 now,
Thanks.
just the 2022
2022
capital
numbers.
budget is done.
So we are, we did the bulk of our chip seal phase 2 in this current year, but there are some smaller areas that need to be tidied up next year. So we're carrying about $250,000 to complete those projects, and that will be part of Rowe's ongoing project. We have $80,000 set aside for sidewalks. We haven't identified where those sidewalks are at this point, but that will be an ongoing discussion with both council and staff. So if you have areas in the community that you think need to be addressed, let either Kevin or Mitch know that, and can move that forward. Continuing along with our acquiring or turning over our vehicle fleet. We have at least one more vehicle to be acquired next year, and we'll see how that plays out. Next, we have our composting and landfill upgrades. We've acquired some equipment this year, which will qualify under the ISIP program, but we still have about $640,000 of that $750 that we will be utilizing next year or into the next year. So I know that Mitch has plans to move forward quickly in the spring with respect to the compost pad and the treatment of our biosludge there, as well as improvements to the landfill, the moving over to a transfer station concept that will provide better service and a safer landfill site for the community. You will notice if you go out there now that they're in the process of constructing a new gate going into the landfill, so that has started. So those will be ongoing next year. Next, we go to the Recreation Center upgrades. Back in 2016-17, I believe, the community was awarded through the Small Communities Fund about $1.7 million in funding. With the completion of the projects this year, that 1.7, we've utilized all but 343,000, which we show in our SCF funding for next year. So we've done a substantial amount of work at the Recreation Center over the last 3 years. Improvements to the sprinkler system, the overhead doors, numerous projects. What we need to focus on for 2022 is to address the roof and also to give it a good painting of the building, the exterior. And so those, we haven't gone out for estimates on those projects yet, but we feel that within that 458,000, we have plenty of capacity to do that. So we'll be bringing those forward through the year as we send out requests for quotations, things of that nature for the roof. Ski Hill Lookout. Most of the lookout work has been deferred through this year and will be done in 2022. We still have 140,000 of our original funding to put towards the lookout and Ski Hill improvements. So hopefully we can wrap that project up next year. Another 50,000 is allocated for playground improvements and or location of new playground. We have the new one up in Elephant Park that will go along with our splash park next year. But if there are other areas identified in the community for a playground, then we'll bring that forward. Next year's project, which will happen early in the spring, will be the installation of the pool building, the interior, which again is a ISIP funded project. So we'll plan to have that done before we open next year and have it completed and gassed off and have it ready for the public. Basketball court, Andre has thoughts and plans about that. So that may get done in phases or may get done as a bigger project. Community plan. We've been almost 2 years now after an award of our community plan. So we're targeting having the field work and public meetings and things happen next year in 2022 with the consultants able to move a little more freely. So hoping to have that done. An enhanced burn structure at the training site is Roger identified what this type of structure is and how it will enhance their training for the fire department. A little beyond my knowledge about that. As you know, council had talked last year about a water study, which we did not get completed. So we are moving that cost forward into 2022 in hopes of engaging Stantec to complete that work. And finally, just some ongoing curb and gutter valve stop replacements throughout the community where the need is identified. The next 4 years, really not any reason to go through each item. They're very small. They're more about sidewalks and some recreation programs and some fire training needs. Just of note, in 2025, so 4 years out, we will have paid the long-term debt off on the sewage treatment plant. So you'll see on page 21, that gets paid out mid-year. And that was a significant loan that we carried for a number of years, and we pay about $250,000 a year on the principal for that loan. So that is basically my spiel, and I would open the floor up for questions and comments.
Well, I like it that we're kind of leaving the slate a little bit clear for the new council to do their strategic planning. And,
Yeah.
you know, we haven't overly committed to too many large capital projects. We have a little bit to do next year, but this will give the new council a chance to really review and set the new priorities with the knowledge that there's capital funds in place, expecting, you know, new allotments as we go forward. And yeah, that's actually something I hadn't thought about for a while, that we're finally nearing the end of a 20-year loan program with the wastewater treatment plant. And that takes a little financial burden off of the village, for sure.
And just in capital funding too, we have seen a good increase in our CPI funding over the last couple of years. So we've moved from about $1,040,000 up to over 1.33 million now. So there's some new dollars there, and as well as it's no longer called the gas tax fund, but that fund has had increases to its amounts too. So that bodes well going forward as far as giving the dollars to do the work.
Yeah, and the fact that we don't have many other loans that we're paying on creates some flexibility going ahead. So that's another good thing. I like the picture, the financial picture presented. I think that's a good one, a good healthy picture for the village. And that's on top of what I think has been a healthy and productive 3-year term of completing capital projects successfully, and you know, including recreational upgrades and large road infrastructure projects. These are significant, and yet here we are in a good financial spot, I think. So thank you very much for that report, for sure. I know you have something to do with why we're there.
Well, we're all a team.
We're all people, yeah, mostly me. Like, yes.
Okay, so any more questions on,
We were really optimistic. We were almost ready to prepare a resolution for adoption tonight. We'll wait a bit.
yeah,
Give the new council
let us
that.
digest the good news here. Yeah, there's a question I had. I guess we do have one more regular council meeting, do we not?
We do.
Yeah, because I think at the last one, we were sort of slapping each other on the back, sort of saying, well, that's our last regular meeting, but really
One more.
work wasn't quite finished. Yeah, we have one more meeting. And
Some councilors will be sitting here on pins and needles, waiting for results.
that's the night. Yeah, that's election night.
Are there any business items council wants to wrap up? Have you mentioned the third reading?
Well, we have the third reading of the bylaw for the Historical Society building,
Right.
designated as a historical site.
Yeah.
Um,
Will it have had the 15-day period of time by then? The posting?
Guess so.
Next Monday? It's,
Yeah, must be, eh?
yeah.
Well, I guess there is no reason not to do that. If we don't have any objections from the public, then we can proceed with that, I'd say. That's not a major item, nothing to deter us from going ahead with that, I think.
I don't think there's anything else. Eh?
Yeah. Okay, in the budgeting is the continuing cost of paying for this building factored into our budgeting, or how?
We've thrown it in the VIC section,
Yeah,
but there's, I'll call it the utilities of the building. They're
right,
factored in. When we sort of ramp this building down, I mean, it's gonna lower costs. We don't know to what extent we'll get. We have small numbers in there, but, you know, if we see that this building is still costing a lot of money in a vacant state, then, you know, hopefully we'll go there, but,
yeah,
yeah, there are some monies in there.
okay. And I mean, council has to still consider what the utilization of the building will be if it just stays vacant, or if it's used by some not-for-profits at some prearranged agreement or something, I don't know. But still, we have nothing firmly in place. I guess that's why we have to think about, you know, a downgraded facility for a while, and that wouldn't be such a bad thing for a period of time. Even the not-for-profits, the ideas that were being pitched, they may be having trouble getting funding sources together to do what they want to do as well with COVID and, you know, just different things. So still a really good building for the community. I don't foresee the village selling it or doing anything like that. We'll keep it as a community resource and see where the best use for it ends up being. But yeah, I guess we can't expect it'll sit here at no cost. But yeah.
Yeah.
Try to diminish our costs as much as we can.
Mhm.
No, that's all I had. And anybody else?
We could turn it into staff apartments.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gone over A, B, and C, I guess, at this point. All reports were kind of wrapped into one there.
Yeah.
And then we could go on, if nobody else has any comments or questions, to 7D, which was item Deputy Mayor brought up about reporting on donations, blood donations that the village may have received. Deputy Mayor, did you want to just speak to that?
Yes, thank you very much. When I was in Fort Providence in June for the DFN assembly, one evening there was a special presentation to the Grand Chief Gladys Norwegian then. There was some people that had made a donation, and I wanted to make special knowledge of that. There was a group of women that had got organized to raise money for the flooding victims, and it was Cynthia James, Brittany Heron, and Jessica Mitchell. They had felt they had help, so they had to do some fundraising, hopefully at least 5,000, and so they had put an auction on Faded Light Company donated some such photographs, I guess, and I guess things started to get around. The word got around and they ended up raising $42,000. So we had donated the money, and that evening at the assembly, they presented it to the Grand Chief Gladys Norwegian then. 2 checks, one for the village of Fort Simpson and one for DFN to disperse the funding as needed. So they had raised quite a bit of money, and special mention to SNA here, our business that had donated just under 10,000. The Denender Corporation and others, too many others to mention. So I just wanted to bring that up. We're so grateful that they were able to help in our time of need. So with that, we had asked about the donations that came, how much came, and what is the next step in dealing with the donations. So we had asked about that previously, and we just waiting for the accounting to get finalized. So just wanted to ask what's the status of that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if the funds were just absorbed into the general spending that we undertook in our flood recovery efforts, or if there were specific projects where monies were earmarked for or not.
I do know that we received a donation a little while ago. I think it was in the region of $10,000, Darrell.
Yeah. There was that donation that came in just recently.
Yeah, so that's probably what Deputy Mayor is referring to. So that's something that council will have to decide how that's utilized. Now, whether you want to leave that for the new council or discuss it now or at the next meeting is up to council. We didn't have any information about where that money came from or who had collected it. It just came without any information recently. So it's good to hear some background from the Deputy Mayor.
Right, and it is important that we acknowledge all funds that we did receive on behalf of flood victims, and with the aim to assist the people here. I think it's important that we show where the money went, what purpose it was used for. We're still dealing with some of the after effects of the flood, the aftermath. So Deputy Mayor makes a good point. I think at some point we do want to not only be thanking our own residents, but everybody from outside our own community who helped get us through that period of time, and properly acknowledge the donations. I think some of the groups and organizations that raised funds on our behalf have some intentions of letting the community know where the money was allocated. I've talked to Patrick Scott. His funds have mostly been dispersed. Some of them are continuing to recycle, I think, through the Heritage Society as materials available to individuals and contractors who need it. Some of the materials are being sold, some of it's being given away. If contractors use it, they pay for it, then it's recycled, and there's an inventory of materials kept on hand here, which is sometimes hard for people to organize to have here on their own. So this is good, and I think there were other groups and organizations, perhaps when we have a coordinated thank you going out to everybody who assisted. We should be reaching out to those organizations as well to kind of say in total, this is what the entire endeavor looked like, the assistance that was collected from everywhere and all over. And because we want to make sure too that the funds actually got spent. I think the need is still there. There's still people that are requiring things, and certainly there's areas we could assist with So yeah, it's a good point. We want to continue to monitor where the money gets spent, and so that with an eye to thanking everybody. Is that generally okay there, Deputy Mayor?
Oh yeah, that sounds good. I don't think we'll be able to get this done by next week, but is there any idea when this information might be available? SAO?
I think that council will have to make that decision about where they want the money to go to first.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something, discussions we could have very early on with the new council if
Yeah.
the mayor sees fit.
Is that the only money that we received from a private organization directly?
I believe so, right?
Yeah.
Darrell?
I mean, the United Way is.
And
They
United Way.
have their funds, which we can also discuss because they want help to get that money to where it needs to go. So
Well, we have received a commitment from them, have we
Yeah.
not,
yeah, so
towards the Red Cross Health and Wellness Project?
actually we received that money, right?
Yeah,
We-
that funding has been received.
Okay,
So
so
that's ready to
that's
be spent.
75,000. Okay,
And then we have this 10,000 that we got recently, which is, again, it's in our account. It's ready to be spent however council sees fit. And United Way also still have money that if council saw a need or came up with a proposal, they'd be happy to see that money go where it needs to go.
yeah,
So I guess for the next council, administration might be able to suggest a plan as to how we'll account for that money then. Thanks.
yeah.
Sure, maybe we can have it on the agenda for maybe the second meeting.
Yeah, and that's a nice story you told about the three ladies and how they thought they might raise 5,000 and ended up collecting 42,000. It shows you the generosity of the people in Fort Providence.
Oh yeah, actually, other mention was Northwest Buffalo Airways in Smith and the MLA from Fort Smith too. So they helped a lot. And I just also want to mention that there was numerous other people that had did a lot of work in sending supplies and actually bringing supplies. And I think we need to make mention of that.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. The ones that in whatever manner collected for the flood victims, I think as a community we should be thanking all these people and ensuring that their funds get used to the best effect. For sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any more discussion on that item? All right. Then we have, looks like an in-camera item here. And we'll have to shut the camera off for that one. It's a personnel matter, so